Johnson, product engineer here at Mentor. We've been running a series of blogs the last few weeks on verification horizons geared toward helping teams build integrated development flows. We left off with this timeline for subsystem verification that proposes ideal timing and impact for a superset of verification techniques. Today, we'll take the next steps by walking our way through 6 example flows that I created based on the ideal timeline. You'll see that these flows are a progression where each offers an incremental improvement over the last. At each progression, we'll take techniques directly from the ideal timeline and combine them into what we'll call our technical approach. We'll rate the effectiveness of each technical approach by plotting the technical state of the design. And we'll do that by estimating bug rate across development. And finally, we're going to do something a little bit out of the ordinary and guess at the overall emotional state of the team during development. Now, this is something we generally don't think much about, but I know personally I do better work when I feel like I'm in a good emotional place. So I think it'd be interesting to understand how different technical approaches can affect our emotional state. Now, I have it plotted as confidence, but really I see this line as a collection of things that includes stress on developers, management frustration or uncertainty, basically all the positive or negative that spills out when a buddy asks you, how are you doing? You know, that's what I mean by emotional state. So with that, we will go to our first progression, which I've labeled uncertainty. Now, this is a flow that uses constraint random exclusively. I've labeled it the uncertainty progression for a couple of different reasons. First is because constraint random's relatively long development times and the long wait to initial test results. It's hard to get an objective measure of progress during this time, hence the uncertainty. Second is because of the surge in reported bugs that happens as constraint random hits its stride. A surge in bugs means a surge in debug, and we all know that debug is fundamentally an uncertain activity. Now, I think more typical than a pure constraint random approach is our next progression, which I've labeled baseline. Now, I chose that label in this flow because in this flow, teams use early directed testing to establish a functional sanity baseline before opening things up to more random or more comprehensive stimulus. Now, the difference here is the slight increase in confidence you get from knowing that you have a functioning happy path in your design. You also see that the peak bug rate has come down just a bit because of that early directed testing. So we're definitely better off with this flow, though still a lot of room to improve. Now, an easy incremental improvement is the addition of lint and low abstraction formal apps. This is something I see as a proactive step toward improving the quality of the design as it's being written. Deployment here is relatively easy because what we're adding doesn't require much ongoing engineering effort. We get the emotional benefit of early feedback. You'll see we've also started front-loading the debug effort to reduce that the bug rate peak that happens later on. Next progression is a change of gears slightly with the addition of formal property checking. So as your technical approach evolves, I think it's important we realize we do have flexibility in how new techniques are deployed. Now, I've called this the focus feedback progression, assuming that property checking, in this case, would be a complementary addition to focus just on a few critical blocks in the design, not necessarily the entire design. And that's the type of choice that we can make as we deploy new techniques. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be focused on particular areas of our design. Now, it's at this point in the timeline where we can begin to see a noticeable difference from what we started. So there's a definite uptick in sustained confidence without the obvious dip that we started with. That's because we're getting test feedback much earlier than we saw in our starting progression. We also see a meaningful flattening of the debug curve because of a more even distribution of feedback. So I think now we're definitely moving in the right direction. To even that distribution further, we can add goal-driven stimulus. Now, I like this as a positive feedback progression because the goals make it easier to understand what positive outcomes we have seen from our design. So I see it as being similar to constrained random with respect to rigor, except that having goals essentially means that the functional coverage is baked in instead of being an extra step. I think our last progression is interesting because it's targeted more at increasing confidence than it is at finding bugs. I like the word corroboration here to describe this progression because the extra evidence gained from early code coverage and reachability checking helps to confirm the effectiveness of our technical approach. It also corroborates our perceived position on the timeline. It helps confirm that what we are doing with other techniques is indeed helping us make progress. So that's it. There's 6 possible progressions, and the thought process I hope to kickstart with the ideal verification timeline I posted a couple of weeks ago. These are just examples, obviously. There are a lot of other possibilities, so when you look at this, think about the progressions that may be right for you and your team. Think about adding techniques that build confidence. I'm talking about confidence with managers and developers. Also think about adding techniques for controlling defects to help avoid those big surges that tend to overwhelm us. So we'll leave it there for now. There's lots more to come on this topic, so keep following the Verification Horizons blog in the coming weeks. If you have questions or comments about anything we've talked about so far, or maybe you have ideas for where to go next, go ahead and get a discussion going in the comments, or by all means, get a hold of me by email and let me know what's on your mind. Talk to you next time.